Hi, I'm Liz Hamlet, and this is How to Spark Success series, where I have conversations with savvy and successful business owners and also individuals from a number of different sectors who are following their passion and their heart in their career. So today I'm really delighted to have Phillippa Wilkinson join me. Now, Phillippa works within the education sector, and she's a true embodiment of following your heart and your career. So I'm not going to tell you too much and steal her thunder, but Phillippa, welcome to the How to Spark Success series. It's great to have you here as a guest.
Hi, Liz.
And can you tell us, just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about, your career journey, what you're doing now. Be great to hear.
Right, well, yes, I've been in secondary education for the last 19 years. I did various roles in the two schools that I was in, and last June stepped away from my role as head of student leadership and development in a secondary school and went to work in a local authority's virtual school.
So for us that don't know what a virtual school is, can you just explain a bit about that?
Yes, a virtual school is a school within the local authority who champion the needs of looked after children who are children in care with regard to their education, attainment and their successes. And we work in close collaboration with primary schools, secondary schools, alternative provisions and PRUs, which are pupil referral units, making sure that the children there are getting the best possible education to give them the best possible start in life.
Fantastic. So sort of coordinating all those services and everything.
It's pulling things together. So for students struggling with behaviour, we can ensure that behaviour mentors are put in. If a student is struggling with any learning needs, we can help the EHC process in conjunction with other teams within the local authority. And we champion the needs of that child as in conjunction with the social worker, the foster carer. We are the ones that are pushing their education, because we all know that to succeed in life, these children who've had disadvantaged starts need the helping hand to get them in line or above their peers.
Yeah, and I think, we've seen in the past, just how important it is to have a sort of central point to pull in all those different services. And I know that you sort of always looked and sort of worked and understood that area, even when you were in your schools previously. So, it must be really great to be able to work with these children and sort of client base now.
It was a very hard decision, because I'd been in a very secure, stable profession for 19 years. I had been a head of year. I'd done lots of different roles within the secondary education system. And my next step was going to be an assistant head. And I had a couple of interviews. And whilst I was there, I suddenly thought, this isn't for me. I'm not going to be able to see much more of my family. I was looking at schools that were quite a commute away. And I realised I was at the top of my salary scale, and I thought, it's not worth it. I want to do something that's going to benefit me and make me happy for the next 20 years and also my family. And I took quite a leap of faith, really, because the job that I went for was advertised on a 12-month temporary contract, and it was £10,000 less than what my salary was. And I undernarred and thought about it, and I thought, well, I can't carry on in the job that I'm doing feeling the way I do. So I stepped away, took the chance, and if I'm honest, I've never been happier. And so much so, my contract's just been renewed, and I've got so much more happiness and work-life balance. I can see my children more, I can be in the family home more, and the authority I work for is absolutely fantastic in terms of you feel nurtured, you feel cared for, everyone looks out for everybody, and it's been a breath of fresh air, really. So I'm very pleased that I've done it, and it was worth the leap of faith.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what you're saying about sort of personal success, that job satisfaction, and having it as something that sort of adds to your life and lifestyle rather than sort of detracts, and, you know, you're just working to make money to pay the bills, you know, having something that you can really, and it's obvious as you talk about it, you know, how proud it is, you know, and how proud you are to be able to make that impact in these children's lives. I think it's fantastic. And so in terms of sort of talking about that sort of personal success, so what does success mean for you?
Happiness, basically. Happiness, the fact that I am a happier person doing what I want to do, and that happiness comes into my job that I'm doing. And I say to my boss, because I have a head teacher in the virtual school, and I say to her every week, I can't believe how lucky I am to do the job that I'm doing. And I wake up every morning thinking, brilliant, it's another day. What can I do today to try and improve the lives of these children that have had the worst possible start in life, or have had circumstances beyond their control? And I genuinely do, and I love my job. I really do. I really do. So success for me is being happy, working with a great team, and we're all in it for what we can do to improve the lives of these children.
I think that's amazing. And I think, you know, when you do find that thing that sort of really makes your heart sing, it just seems like, you know, although there'll be difficult days, that you know you're raring to go when you go in, and, you know, wanting to sort of make a difference and try new things. I think you know, that really comes across. So what for you, what do you think's been the biggest factor that's helped you be successful in that sort of personal success piece?
I think when I realised that I needed to make the change out of secondary education, I started doing more reading around my role. So I started reading a lot of articles about education, about attachment and trauma, which is very current now, just, you know, with the COVID crisis and how children are going to go back into schools. ACEs, which is like adverse childhood experiences, to make sure that, you know, these are adverse experiences that children have, that we can learn to recognise them and put strategies in place so they can be successful. So I did a lot of reading, and I made a lot of connections on social media, mostly Twitter, where I followed certain people who I found interesting, followed their articles that they were reading, retweeted them. And funnily enough, from my kind of Twitter profile, I was approached in March by a member of the school improvement team in my local authority, who asked me, because of the role that I was doing in my interest, my field of interest, if I would like to be part of a local authority team for transition. And that's the transition was from year 11 into post 16, because my role in the virtual school is, as well as teaching and learning coordinator, I'm lead of post 16, to make sure that we know where our year 12 and 13 students are going. So from that, I actually ended up sub-leading it with another member of the authority team, and we've submitted all of our documents to try and improve the chances for vulnerable students going on into post-16 education. And this has been a working document where we're trying to make sure secondary schools are passing on the relevant information to post-16 providers. And that was purely based on my Twitter activity and my likes, my dislikes, and what I've been doing around my subject.
Yeah, so that's, you know, it's amazing, and the sort of added bonus that you've been able to sort of make to sort of more children's lives in terms of that sort of thought leadership and sharing other people's articles, and, you know, just being generally interested in the subject area, and how that sort of only adds to what you're doing, and, you know, brings other opportunities to get involved in more things. So that's fantastic. I mean, you've mentioned your reading, which sounds like sort of really comprehensive, and, you know, that attachment piece is so key, as you say, especially now with children having spent so much time at home with their parents, now having to potentially start going back into schools. So aside from reading, have you got any other success habits that sort of you do in a week or in a day that sort of really have helped you?
I try and find out as much as I can. If I'm dealing with a case, I try and find out by reading about the background, knowing who the social workers are that I'm dealing with, knowing where they're based, knowing the school, the type of school. I always have a look at the Ofsted rating of the schools, have a look at the websites to see what key staff are involved, just so I feel when I go into meetings, and some of the meetings can be quite challenging when I'm trying to fight the corner of a child that's experiencing problems, and I just find that knowing a bit about what I'm going into has prepared me. So for example, if a child is about to be, if they're discussing the next steps for this child, if I can make reference to some of the student leadership activities they might offer, and could they put that child forward for that, talk about the school teams that are mentioned on their website. I like being prepared for everything that I do, and I think that's one of my success habits. I prepared so intensely for my interviews. I prepare for going into my meetings in local authority. I prepare for my meetings going into school, and I just like having a whole wealth of knowledge behind me, so if anything comes up that I'm not too sure of, I can pull it back in and discuss it.
That's fantastic, and that's obviously been so important to those meetings that you're going into, those conferences, in terms of sort of knowing what's there and being able to sort of have the best possible outcome for the child. So that's brilliant. So in terms of sort of looking back over your career and career journey, if you could start all over again, what would you do differently?
If I could start all over again, what I would do different, I would have not stayed in my last school for as long. I stayed there because I met my husband there, we started a family, and I was very sentimental about the school because of the memories it held for me. So if I was doing things again, I would have probably moved on after a couple of years to have increase my experience of different school settings, because my first school was a very small Catholic school in the middle of Cheshire, which was very nice. My second school was north of Manchester, which was fabulous. It was multicultural. I learned so much about things from there and gained lots of experience. But I should have moved on sooner and gone into a different type of school to experience different types of students, different types of staffing. So that would be what I do. I don't regret it, but that's, if I could look back and change, that's what I would have done.
Yeah, and I think that's important. My last episode, I was talking to Bianca Penanti, who's a psychologist, about that sort of comfort zone piece of sort of, it's, I'm still learning a bit, I'm getting good money, I know everything here, versus that sort of leap of faith into the unknown, like you did when you were sort of stepping away from a permanent role, stepping into a 12-month fixed contract, you hadn't, worked there before. And I think, realised actually how much there is to offer with that sort of taking that scary step, really. So I think that's fantastic. And in terms of, you've been talking about some, really great advice and, what's helped you, but in terms of sort of advice you've received, what's been the best piece of advice about sparking success that you've been told?
Keep trying. Keep persevering. When I decided that I wanted to move out of education in schools into the authority, I had an interview at another local authority for the same position, and I didn't get it. And my feedback was, just do some more research, keep on trying. And the head teacher who was in charge at the time said, you will secure a position very soon. She said, you have a lot to give, but you need to keep on trying. And that's what I did, because these jobs in the authority in these type of schools, they're very, very rare, because they're very rare. So I just had to keep on trying, keep doing my reading, keep looking on local bulletins, they were never advertised in the national press, they were always in the local authority bulletins. So just keep on trying, basically. If you want to do it, keep on trying, and don't settle and be less, don't settle.
Yeah, don't say no. And I think that's really key in terms of the persistence. But I think it's also that timing piece of that role that you'd gone for, that they'd said, we know that you'll get this, but perhaps the next interview or the next time. I know I've been for roles that I've thought, I'm totally ready for this, and actually in hindsight, when I haven't got them, reflecting back, it's been the best for me, and I've actually gone on to get a much better opportunity, or more in alignment with what my values, etc. So I think it's also that timing piece, definitely. But I think definitely keep going, be persistent.
Well, it was very funny because I saw that head teacher 2 years later at a conference, a Northwest conference for looked after children. And I went up and made myself known to her because she kept on looking over to me, and I told her who I was, and she said, "Oh, I remember." She said, "I knew you'd get a job. I knew it, and I'm really, really pleased for you." And I thought, 2 years later, for remembering me at an interview where she'd had probably, there was 70 applicants for the job, she interviewed 6. So I was quite pleased that she did remember me. And I said to her, "I took your advice, I kept on trying, and I did do some more background reading." And she was really pleased, and she said, "Keep in touch."
Yeah, and I think, that's amazing because, you being so comprehensive in your research, that obviously came across really well, and just wasn't your time at that interview. But, you're obviously stuck in their minds, because we all know anyone that sort of does recruitment, it's a lot, you see a lot of people through the door and a lot of CVs. So, that's amazing that you're really stuck in their mind. So in terms of sort of bringing together all your experiences and your career and those success habits, have you got any final words for people that are watching this today?
Something when I used to, because my last job I used to do a lot of travelling on the motorways, and sometimes it could be 2.5 hours a day sat on the motorways in Manchester in traffic jams and accidents. And I used to think, and it came to me, and I've always kind of lived by this mantra since my commuting days, is change what you can't accept and accept what you can't change. And I could change my commute, I could change the job I was in, and I changed it because I couldn't accept it anymore and I wanted something different. And that would be my mantra.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, a lot of people do, unfortunately, feel that they have to sit in situations that perhaps they do have the power over changing. So I think that's exactly hit the nail on the head. So Phillippa, it's been an absolute delight to have you and hear about your career journey and all the amazing impact that you're making in children's lives. So thanks so much for being part.
Thank you for having me, Liz.
That's okay. And for the viewers, I'd like to join you to join me in the next episode of the How to Spark Success. I'll be welcoming Tahiri McLaren Brown, who's a mental wellbeing coach, to hear her take on success and to steal some of her success secrets. So I'd love you to join me, and thanks for watching today. Take care. Bye.